Welcome to Build to Last, the podcast where I, Eric of Maykus Homes and Neighborhoods, dive into the art of crafting not just homes, but entire neighborhoods and lasting relationships. Join me as we explore the heart and soul of building communities that stand the test of time. Welcome back to Build to Last. I'm Eric, and I'm excited today to have you join us. We've got a returning guest, Sierra Maykus Dorniak, and we've got her partner, Chandler Ferguson Jones, and they make up the Maykus sales team. And we're going to be talking to them in depth today about everything to do from the time you make that phone call to them to the time they hand you the keys when you purchased a Maykus home. We're going to go ahead and get into that. But first, last time when I had Eason in here and we were talking about the development stages, he was talking about a development. He said sometimes it takes a long time to get these developments through. And he said that there was one that it just took years and years. He says, as a matter of fact, he said there was this little girl running around up and down the stairs and everywhere. And he says, now we're building homes on her father's property. You don't happen to know who that was, do you?
Yes, I do, actually. I was the little girl at that time. My dad actually bought that property for what was his 40th birthday. And when we bought it, it looked completely different from even the time that we sold it to Maykus. There was a mobile home on the property, and it was pretty overgrown. And my dad had a vision of transforming it to what would be, my childhood home. And so that's definitely a very special property to me. I have all my childhood memories there. So it's been a really, really cool experience to see it transform to what was my childhood home. And now being on the other side of it, it's really come full circle that I get to be with the Maykus team, and I get to help there'll be 34 other families that will get to call that their home, and it'll be very, very special for me.
I hadn't even really thought about that. Very cool. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. And to kick things off, tell us a little bit about how you guys work together and what you do for Maykus Homes.
Well, we're both we say we're like the same role almost. I'm Sierra, Sierra's me, kind of we're on the phone almost.
Actually, we had the other day, when was that?
Yes.
Chandler was talking to someone, and then I walked in like 2 minutes later and she goes, "Wait, are y'all sisters?" And then we're like, no, we're not. But yeah, it's cool.
Yes.
Side note.
Yeah, no, and honestly, just getting to work with Sierra. We both graduated from Southlake, so I've known Sierra for a long time, and I think that kind of helps in all roles too. Just we're friends outside of work too, and kind of our synergy together and how we work together. I think that plays a big role in it.
Well, that's great. So if I was to ask you guys to kind of walk us through this step by step. So what's the first step? Someone contacts you by phone or shows up at an open house. Where do you get the leads from, I guess?
Sure. So I guess it varies. It could be a phone call on our sales phone. It could be like an inquiry from our website, and that comes to my email, and it's kind of like an email, you get their email address and the message and the body and everything. And then it could be walk-ins, which is very rare, but that does happen. But I'd say 90% of it's phone calls, and whether that's a realtor calling for her clients or it's someone that drove by, saw it on Zillow, community impact. There's a couple different resources that people would find us, or word of mouth, or we get a lot of previous Maykus homeowners that live, they say, I've lived in a Maykus house for 20 years, or I've heard you have a great reputation. I want to know more. And then from there, I'd say it just really depends on what they're interested in, their price point, and we talk. If it is if there's something to go look at, we would go maybe meet on site somewhere, meet at our office, and from there it really evolves. And
I guess a lot of it has to do with what their particular interest is, whether it's
Correct.
They want to start from scratch with a blank sheet of paper, or whether it's something that we've already got a product on the ground or in the process.
Right.
So what are some of the things all right, we've had this initial visit. What are some of the things you guys talk about during that initial visit with them?
You can go.
Yeah, I think really, just trying to figure out what is important to them, what are they looking for? Is it they want to get their little kids in really good school districts? We have a lot of neighborhoods that go to Carroll ISD, and that's very sought after by a lot of people. I think just, what's important to them is their timeline. Is that what's most important? Because, that could vary from, okay, well, a spec might be a better option for them as far as timeline, or if it's not timeline, and time's not an issue, then, the more completely custom starting from scratch. So I think just really trying to figure out what is important to the client and, what they're trying to get.
And price point too, I think.
Yes, it is.
Where I think that's, for me at least, I think Chandler does the same, as one of the first questions I ask, which is uncomfortable kind of in a way, but just what is your comfort price point? Mm-hmm. Because if you call me and tell me 300,000, then there's really no need to talk further, but and that's okay. But really that drives most of the conversation and where we're going to guide you.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Very good. You mentioned custom from scratch mm-hmm. or a spec just in. So when we're talking about customizing a home, is it a different process if it's from scratch or if it's one of the specs? How does that customization change in that?
Well, it changes in the sense of, I guess, what stage something is at. So if it's just dirt, obviously you are truly starting from scratch. And I think that is picking your floor plan, designing your floor plan, everything you want about the house, versus a spec home. Depends on the stage of that. If it's frame stage, well, the house is going to be the house, as far as bedroom, bathroom, square footage, all of those things. But then the fun stuff, tile, countertops, paint, tile, I think I said tile twice. That is the custom part of it, is you may be able to have choices in that.
So in a spec home, basically they maybe can pick the finishes depending on whether or not it's been installed.
Yep.
Whereas if they're just starting from scratch with a new custom home, really it's just about what they can afford and what they want for their home.
Totally.
Okay. Very good. Well, when you've got that person that wants one just the way they want it, how does that work out? How do we help them, or how do you guys help them with designing their home?
I guess our role in that sense is taking really good notes, because if it did progress to the stage to where it was like contract and specs, we need to be able to translate that to CAMI potentially for pricing, or and then really relay that information to my mom in April, on the design side of like, hey, these people really want nice, they don't care much about anything else, but they want really nice countertops, or they want stained grade cabinets everywhere. That's really important to them. So just being that middleman, I think, is a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
I guess you also get a lot of feedback when you're showing homes, whether they purchase from Maykus Homes or not. You'll get feedback about what features people like or don't like. Do you end up working those through with the design team or sharing that information?
Yeah, and we, like you said, us showing houses, we'll get a lot of feedback from the clients on different things. And Maykus is very much so, I always say, I've probably been here the shortest amount of time, but it's very much so a family environment. Everyone very much so listens to each other and listens to everyone's opinions. So if me and Sierra have feedback on the sales side, we let everyone know that, and so everyone's kind of on the same page.
Back a long time ago, I had a professor that told me that the home buying process is one of the more stressful things that people do, because unless you're a big business or corporate person, probably purchasing a home is like the biggest check you'll ever write, or the most money that you will spend at any one given time if you're the average person. And if that's you, then you're going to want to feel special. What are some of the things that you guys do to help the customer feel comfortable and feel special throughout the process?
I think being transparent and being honest is huge, and I think that's what we really try to do. Mm-hmm. I'm probably sometimes too transparent, so and that could be a good or bad thing. But I think that's a big part of it is like, hey, if this was my mom, or hey, if this was whoever, my friend, I wouldn't do that, or I would do that. And I think reading the room too, maybe sometimes people don't want your opinion, and that's okay. And so maybe keep things to yourself. But I think the transparency is huge and making people feel comfortable. We had a phone call a couple weeks ago with a lady, and she was open about how overwhelming it was, and all the information. It was like a 30-minute phone call, and just reassuring them that this is overwhelming. Like, you're not weird for feeling that or thinking that. And this is the biggest purchase of your life, and it is scary. And I'm personally going through it. I'm building a house, and it's kind of cool that I get to see what people go through, even just on the loan side of it, because that is daunting in itself. And so now I can be a little more empathetic to that process and understanding. It could be stressful.
Well, you understand when the bank says, "Oh yeah, we want one more document, or we want one more piece of paper."
Oh my gosh!
You've been there, you've done that. You understand it.
Oh yeah, I'm like 20. I've never sent 20 attachments in an email in my life until a week ago. So it's a lot.
Well, what else? What other challenges do you guys see, and how do you take care of those, or how do you help our customers meet the challenges of buying a new home?
Yes, I think I touched on timeline already, but just kind of going back to that, timeline can be really, daunting or hard to people if they're stressed about selling their house before, building a new custom home, and what are the logistics of that going to look like, and how are they going to get that done. And I think something special with Maykus is, we do have rental properties, and something that we can offer in that time, instead of having to go and lock into a really long lease or something. We can offer a solution to people to kind of be that middle ground, or, middle solution of that time of where they could be, why we get to build their dream home or like that.
How about you? Any challenges that you think of, Sierra?
I think that's probably the biggest thing, in just being able to offer that, because I would say most of the time, if not all the time, we hear, I need to be in by this date, or how long is this going to take? Or it's rare that people are understanding of the timeline and understand that things get in the way, or Mother Nature, or whatever the case may be.
Well, and if you stop and think about it, it kind of makes sense, because for most things that we buy in life, you want a new car, boom, you drive away in the car that afternoon. If you want to go buy groceries or buy a new pair of shoes, you've got them right then. But when it comes to buying a new home, even if it's already built, you still got to go through the closing process. It takes
time. It's not instant gratification at all. So yeah, and then I think it's cool that we have those rental properties, or we have something, potentially a solution. It may not work out, but just offering that to ease people's mind in that super stressful process.
Well, enough about the bad stuff or the challenges. What about the rewards? And each of you take something. Chandler, what's rewarding to you about providing a family a home?
I think just the kind of the end part of it is the most rewarding, getting to see a family, in their new home, and they're going to be able to create memories there in neighborhoods that, Maykus has developed. And I think that's a really rewarding feeling, to just kind of see the whole process pay off at the end.
I can piggyback on that. That, to me, that's my favorite part too. And then just someone being proud of that purchase and proud of being in a Maykus home. Like, it's really cool for people to be proud and maybe even braggadocious. Like, I live in a Maykus house. Like, that's so cool that people have so much pride and faith in us, and what we've built. And then, seeing whether they're 70 years old or they're 30 years old and have 2 kids, I think it's amazing seeing someone happy and moving into a home. And whether it's their first home or their 10th home, it's still a really cool accomplishment.
I can even piggyback off of that. When I first came to work for Maykus, you go through Grapevine, or you're going through Southlake, and I'm wearing a Maykus shirt and a Maykus hat, and you stop at the gas station. Oh, and Frank Maykus built my house, and Cost Maykus developed my neighborhood. And so it is very rewarding to hear about the company that we work for and the homes that they have provided people in our community, and then their children.
Oh, I agree.
even,
Yes,
you know.
I
yes,
agree.
definitely.
Well, I guess you're next. We're going to have to build you a Maykus home pretty
Right?
soon.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm telling her, I'm like, Chandler, I think it's meant to be. You need to move into Ferguson Place
Yes.
somehow, some way. I don't know.
Let's see if we can make that happen somehow.
Yeah.
Well, let's stop and let's say, all right, you're going through it, you're going to go through it, and you've been through it with other customers. What advice would you give people that are looking to buy a home from Maykus Homes?
What advice? I would say just call us. It's worth a conversation, and we can talk the details and figure out, your wants and your wishes and your needs. And yeah, I would say just it's there's nothing to lose, like a phone call, a conversation. I used to be really scared to talk to people. I was like, what if I say the wrong thing? Like what? But it's okay. It's just a conversation. And I think just once again, being open and honest about what people are wanting. And I'd say pick up the phone and call us and we can talk.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Chandler? Anything to add to that?
Kind of just piggybacking off that, we kind of deal with, some people will have, a good idea of what they want in mind and some people don't, and that's okay. And we can hold people's hand as much as they want throughout the process or as little as they want. So we kind of, see that vary in between client to client. Everyone's different, and everyone kind of has a different path to it.
You're just going to assess that situation. I've seen that myself. You'll have one customer come in, they have no idea what they want. The next customer comes in, they know exactly what knobs are going to go on the secondary bathroom cabinets.
Yes.
Oh, they have their clipboard and their pin and their Pinterest board, and they're ready to go.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys too about some advice, and this is probably goes back towards people who are maybe a little hesitant. They want a home. They know that the home they want is out there, but they're still hesitant because maybe the interest rates aren't exactly, maybe the scenario in the country is not exactly what they want. And I can always remember Cost saying something like, you marry the home and you date the rate. What is that? Explain that thought to me.
So we always like to say, with interest rates and which I'm sure Mark touched on that, are all over the place. The value of your home, especially in kind of areas where we are now, is going to continue to go up. And so I think regardless of, what the rate is, you can always refinance down the road and sort of, I would say, marrying your dream home if you've really, you found the dream home or the right fit. And, later down the road, the rate can change. I wouldn't make a sole decision based off of what the rate is really, and more so of, of the home and, the value of the home is going to continue to go up and you can make changes with the rates down the road.
I guess truly, if you're thinking from that point, if you wait, the rates could go up.
Correct. Yes.
So then you could actually end up not qualifying for your home at a later time. Well, that's great. Well, before we wrap up, is there any last thoughts you would have on the home buying experience with Maykus Homes?
I would just say, I would hope that it's fun for people. That's our goal, is it for it to be enjoyable. This should be, even though it is the biggest purchase of your life, more than likely, we try to make it fun and comfortable, and we just really love what we do, and it's just carrying on a legacy, and we're so proud, and we just take a lot of pride in what we do, and we always try to do the right thing, and
Well, that's great. Well, I certainly appreciate the time that you've taken out to join us today and be with us and talk about the home buying process and share a little bit of, I didn't mean to pick on you about running around being a little girl there, but that was good times. But you heard her. Give us a call. Call 817-308-1155. It doesn't hurt to talk to us about our neighborhoods that we have out there, the projects that are going on. And you might not be ready right now. It might be something in the future. But once again, thank you for joining and listening. This is Eric with Built to Last and Maykus Homes, and we'll see y'all next time.